This time, would you please stand for the pledge? Okay. For all public hearing for
To gather legally acceptable evidence in order before council must be sworn testimony. All persons wishing is closed, staff will be prepared to make their recommendation to the board. So just in the app well. In the course of deliberation, the members of the council and the planning board may ask questions of the staff, the decision at the next regular council meeting, which is February the 2nd. So rules for public hearing speakers. All speakers should speak from the mic. The applicant should present their argument and evidence to show that the standards of the applicable ordinances have been met as concisely and efficiently as possible. All speakers should address the approval criteria and must avoid irrelevant or repetitious testimony. Groups are encouraged to select a spokesperson to speak about general matters for the group. Speakers may introduce exhibits only to support their testimony at the hearing. All speakers should ensure their testimony is relevant to the criteria, consists of statements and facts about which the speaker can personally testify, and not the statements or words of others who are not testifying, and is not speculative opinions or generalized objections without supporting facts. All speakers should direct their testimony to the criteria that must be met for the particular application. For this special use permit approval, the criteria are: A, the use will not materially endanger the public health or safety if located where proposed and developed according to the plan as submitted and approved. B, the use meets all required conditions and specifications. C, the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, or that the use is a public necessity. D, location and character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, will be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located and in general conformity with the plan of development for the town. And in the packet that the town council and both the planning board has, you have your agenda report that has your, well, of course you have quasi-judicial rules, special use permit application, you have a map of the map of property boundaries, property owner listing, the site plan, dwelling and residence layout, photos of proposed site, a vicinity map, zoning map, future land use map, table of permitted uses, and you have information from sections 18-114 and 18-115, note 12, regarding daycare. And lastly, just a few comments. The application was completed by the owner. Letters of public hearing notification was mailed out to the surrounding property owners on January the 13th, 2021. The public hearing was advertised for 2 weeks in the Nashville Graphic on January the 14th and January 21st prior to tonight's hearing. The property was posted with a special use permit public hearing sign on January 14, 2021. The lot is approximately 0.34 acres with a 2-story dwelling and a storage shed located on the property. And with any special use permit, the planning board and town council must consider the following findings of facts, which I just read, A through D. And the use must comply with special regulations in 18-115, note 12. And just to note, the owner applicant will be the only employee. She will be providing for 4 children and will be providing transportation for all children. And her hours of operation are Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And also on the property, there's an existing 5-foot-high wood fence on the property where the play area is designated, also on the site plan. And that's all that I have at this time. So For those of you who were sworn in, who needs to be, to be sworn in, we're gonna do 3 groups of 3s. So the first group, including the applicant, 3 people can come up and be sworn in for testimony.
We have 3. Do we have
One more person?
keep your distance?
Spread out.
Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And we'll let one speak at a time.
We're gonna swear everybody in it.
Oh, we are? Okay.
Yeah. So second group of 3, if you sign in. I'm trying to save time, so we're just gonna go ahead and get everybody sworn in who signed up.
Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. The next, anybody else that's going to speak, please come forward.
I would like to.
Okay.
I guess it's what I couldn't hear a word
But
she
that's
was
okay.
saying.
Anybody else?
Is that it? Okay.
Is that it?
Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thanks. And we'll begin with the first person, and you come up to the mic, state your name and your address.
And I will call the applicant.
Okay, the applicant, would you please come forward and state your name and address?
My name is Anquan Bullock. I live at 113 Woodfield Drive.
Okay?
So my name is Anquan Bullock. I am the applicant and owner of the property of 113 Woodfield Drive. I am in the process of getting my daycare license, and I would like to operate in my home. I have met
Helpful to the folks, town council, the thing to the matter of the special use permit. I am in opposition to the daycare, the in-home daycare. Let me first say, before I share anything else, is that I have nothing against children. I've worked with kids all my life, in church, in school, had 2 boys of our own. My wife and I, we raised our 2 sons right there on 212 Woodfield. And I have nothing against daycare. They are vital, they serve a vital role within our society. And Lord only knows our kids need help. The only problem, and the biggest problem I have, is location. I think there's a proper place to have a daycare. And in a residential neighborhood, I don't think is the right place to have that. But that's just my opinion. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to give my opinion, but I have facts that I want to share with everyone, and I have copies to share as well with the board, as well. I have one copy for each. Who do I give this to?
You want everyone to have one?
Well,
Give it to the chairman of the planning board.
I asked Miss Sherry, where's Sherry?
I'm right here.
She said just have one copy,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure what she.
I'll look at it and pass it around,
with
please.
I was
Thanks,
gonna
honey.
have copies for everyone, but I didn't know how many to make. I'm gonna read a lot of this, so if y'all are okay to save time, I can read this.
That'd be
And then
fine.
you can have copies made for your decision making. Would that be okay with everybody? Okay. I've got, the first page is kind of an agenda. I have Exhibit A is a letter from concerned residents of the Woodfield subdivision. And I propose to read that out loud, and whoever has the copy can read along with me. It expresses the opposition of the neighborhood. And I'll go over that as well. Exhibit B, petition results. I'll go over that. Exhibit C is a copy of the North Carolina General Warranty Deed that's in the registry. It's book 3031, page 226 through 228. I want to reference that, as well as the Declaration of Restrictive and Protective Covenants and Conditions for Woodfield, which is recorded at the registrar. And then there's one more thing that I may mention, just see how it goes. I'm going to read the letter, and this letter is to the Town of Nashville Planning Board and Town Council from concerned residents of the Woodfield subdivision in the Town of Nashville. Date and time is July the 27th, today, 2021, 7 o'clock meeting. Subject, opposition to a special use permit at 113 Woodfield Drive, Nashville, North Carolina. We, residents of Woodfield subdivision, Exhibit B, are opposed to the special use permit to allow an in-home daycare to be located at the residential address of 113 Woodfield Drive, Nashville, North Carolina, 27856. The Declaration of Restrictive and Protective Covenants and Conditions for Woodfield recorded on the Nash County Registrar of Deeds, Book 1265, page 162, Exhibit D, indicates the following on page 2 of 8. On page 2 of this document, number 1, item 1 is lot, and on the third sentence, it says each lot shall constitute a residential building site or lot. On number 2 on the same page, land use and building type, first sentence, no structure shall be erected, altered, placed, or permitted to remain on any lot other than for use as a single-family residential dwelling. On page 6 of 8 of these covenants, number 12, time, the foregoing restrictions are to run with the land and shall be binding on and applicable to all parties and all persons claiming under them for a period of 25 years from the date these restrictions are recorded, which they were recorded on, I believe it was November the 16th of 1988, after which time said restrictions shall be automatically extended for successive periods for 10 years each. Number 13, enforcement. Enforcement of these restrictions shall be by proceeding at law or in equity against any person or persons violating or attempting to violate any covenant or condition, either to restrain violation thereof or to recover damages therefore. Here are our concerns. These covenantal restrictions protect the rights of property owners in the Woodfield subdivision to live in a residential community unhindered by negative effects of commercial business. If the property at 113 Woodfield Drive is allowed under a special use permit to be used as an in-home daycare business, then this will undermine and violate the covenantal restrictions. Additionally, this action will open the door and set a precedence for other businesses to follow.
Once Woodfield subdivision becomes a business district, then the quality of life and character of our Woodfield neighborhood will change drastically for the worse, resulting in traffic, safety, environmental, and appearance concerns, and decreased property values. Woodfield subdivision would no longer be a desirable neighborhood to live in and raise a family. Question: is this what the town of Nashville wants for its Woodfield residential community? As outlined on page 1, on the last paragraph of the covenant agreement, it states, subject to certain restrictive and protective covenants and conditions, hereinafter collectively referred to as the restrictions, which are deemed to make the subdivision more desirable and to be for the benefit of all those who acquire title to any one or more of said numbered lots, to the end that the restrictions herein set out shall inure to the benefit of each person, firm, or corporation which may acquire title to any one of all said numbered lots, and of which shall be binding upon each person. I just want to say thank you for hearing these concerns from the town of Nashville citizens that live in Woodfield. What I'd like to do now is to share. When I first learned about this, I saw the sign. I didn't receive a letter, but I saw the sign. And I went by it many times, many days passed. I finally said, I need to stop and read this. And then it caught my attention. I was like, okay, what are we doing with this property here? So I called the town, and I talked to Miss Moss, and she informed me about the special use permit and what it was for. After prayerful consideration and looking at the covenant agreements that we are all bound by, the in-house, in-home daycare is not a place in a residential neighborhood. I went to each house, starting at 100 Woodfield Drive, and I went to every house last Saturday from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, collecting data to find out how the residents felt about having a special use permit for an in-home daycare. And I'm going to share those results to you. You don't have this information. I know that there was a few that were sent out to surrounding properties, but I went and tried to get information from each and every homeowner on the 100 and 200 block of Woodfield, all the way past a few houses down past 212 is how far I went down Woodfield. And then on Sunday, I went back to houses that I couldn't get on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock to 3:30 or a quarter to 4. I was out trying to get the houses that I couldn't get on Saturday, and then I turned the corner on Briarwood and tried to get and went on to the center street there, and got a few signatures there. A lot of people weren't home or wouldn't come to the door. I ran into all kinds of situations, but this is a sampling. It's a huge sampling of the subdivision, and the results that I had to share with you are hands down in favor of property owners. I've got 2 full pages. I'll just hold them up and show you. And we have a representative population here in the audience with us tonight that are on this list as well. But I've got almost 2 full pages. I'll give you the numbers and share the percentages, but there's a large expression of opposition to having this here. These numbers tell me, I've been a numbers person in the county. When I was in the work world, I'm partially retired now. These numbers tell me, okay, there are 45 names on this list of people that are opposed to having this special use permit. 45. There was one that was for. Well, actually, he never said he was for it. He said, God bless anybody that can handle up 6 people, 6 children. But he didn't really say he was for it, but he wouldn't sign to say that he was opposed to it. So, and then I had one that wanted to come here tonight to learn more about it, hearing Ms. Bullock talk. And I don't know where he stands. But anyway, that's fine. From those that would render an opinion, we had 45 that were opposed, 1 that was for. That's almost 98% is against, 2% for. when you look at the number of households that's represented by this sampling, 26 households were opposed and 1 was for, and that's a 96.3% and 3.7%. So now, the next thing I wanted to cover was the copy of the warranty deed, which is a public record, and I pulled this off the Register of Deeds. I pulled the property record when it was purchased by the Bullocks, and I've got that. And what I wanted to call out here, and this is on every one of the residents in Woodfield have the same thing. It's on our deed. I pulled it up and looked, and it's on the property for 113 as well. And it's got this statement right here: this conveyance is made subject to those restrictive covenants recorded in Book 1265, page 162, Nash County Registry. Those are the protective and restrictive covenants for Woodfield subdivision. So when Miss Bullock and family purchased that lot at 113, they were buying these restrictive covenants at the same time. They're bound by these restrictive covenants. After reading the one statement that I read about the restrictions running for 25 years, 25 years has passed since 1988. It expired in 2013, if I'm doing my math right. But it says in the covenants that after switch time, the restrictions automatically extend for successive periods, 10 years each. So it's a perpetuating. What I'm saying is that the covenant is in full force and effect. And this, based on the deed, this one was purchased, I believe. Let me look at it and see what it says when it was recorded. It's right here. On January 29th of 2020, this property was recorded in their name, bound by the covenants that, and the condition, the things that I just read in the letter about residential and single-family residential buildings. So, the next thing. I have a full copy of the, it's an 8-page document that I want you to use to look to see the things that I'm saying are true. The sampling, the people that were, that I polled, I shared with them the same things that were in the letter that I just wrote about the covenants and about it being a residential community, and the people are speaking. The voice of the community says that we want our neighborhood, Woodfield subdivision, to remain a residential neighborhood. And if we try to change that, then it may change the character of our neighborhood and not for the better. And it also to protect property values as well. So that's essentially, I think I've covered most of what. There's one more thing. I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there because I have a concern over this. In addition to what I'm saying, and I know in the town ordinances, safety is a big concern, and it should be for all of our citizens. The location of this one, even if it's not in a safe spot, also. It's on a busy corner that's heavily trafficked. I haven't done a traffic study, so this may be my opinion, but that is a left-hand turn into the rest of Woodfield. It's heavily trafficked, and my greatest fear that I have is that one day if a child gets loose and runs out into that street and people are either coming in or going out, it's heavily trafficked. And I know there's a yellow sign there now saying children playing slow. I don't think that's going to slow the cars down. I'm just concerned that a child may run out and then we're all going to have a bad day, a very bad day. But I'm hanging my hat on the covenant. It's a legal document from what I read in here, and you can read the same. And we have rights as property owners, and that's what we're trying to do, is to exercise those rights. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Horn. We appreciate it. The next person is Dr. Katrina Sweet.
I am Dr. Katrina Sweet, and I do not live in the Woodville subdivision, but I am Mrs. Bullock's greatest advocate. I've known her for over 22 years. I was her fourth grade teacher at one time, and now I serve as the chair of her board of trustees for her daycare. Ms. Bullock has worked extremely hard on this strategic plan. She contacted me about a year ago. I have a nonprofit in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and part of our strategy is to serve as a consulting firm for new entrepreneurs. And so Mrs. Bullock contacted me. We sat down, we worked on her strategic plan. And I always ask people, tell me your why. And for her, her why was her grandmother, who was also a child care provider, who spent a lot of time with Ms. Bullock and invested in Ms. Bullock's life. So we sat down and we worked on her strategic plan. The goal initially was not to have a home daycare. We were looking for a facility, and we still are looking for a facility. But when the pandemic happened, we had to put that on pause with the understanding that Mrs. Bullock would still move forward with accomplishing her goals. I did not want the pandemic to be a reason for her to stop, because she has worked extremely hard on going back to school, becoming a licensed daycare provider, and moving forward with even putting the plan together to have the home daycare. So here we are today. She has the home daycare, but we are still moving forward with the plan of trying to find a facility. So this is not a permanent decision to have the home daycare forever. Right now, because of the coronavirus, we're having to go this route. So I am asking you to consider the work that she has been so diligently and faithfully working on. I do understand and respect the concerns of the homeowners in Woodville, but this is just a temporary situation. It is not something that we are permanently looking to have forever. And so I trust Ms. Bullock. You know, we're working with her, and safety and making sure that, you know, just making sure that she follows all of the guidelines. We're working with her to ensure that she does that. So I just ask that you consider all of the work that she has done, and know that she has support. It's not just me, but she has a great, strong support system. She has a great family who is standing behind her. And I believe that she can handle the 4 children that she currently has. I think that she has been approved to serve 6, but our goal is to maintain the 4 until she's able to grow and move beyond the home daycare. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this Beth Brown or, okay.
My name is Beth Brown. I live at 213 Woodfield Drive, and I'm opposed to this. I just want to live in a residential area. I don't want any businesses coming in there. Then I worry about, you know, if other businesses would come if they see that they got a special use permit, and then someone else would want to do one too. We've got a diverse group of people that live in our neighborhood, wonderful neighborhood, all ages. There's a lot of people there that live in that neighborhood too who are retired, and they just want to live in a residential area and not have any businesses there.
Thank you very much, Ms. Brown. Tim Glover.
Tim Glover, 201 Woodfield Drive. I live right next door to Mr. and Mrs. Bullock. They've been good neighbors to me. What I want to tell you people is, when I come home from a hard day's work, my house is from that wall to that wall from their fence and their enclosed property. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to hear a daycare running. So when you guys vote, if you vote yes for this to happen, that's what I'm going to be listening to in my living room. I want you people to know that I definitely oppose it. I got good neighbors. I like Mr. and Mrs. Bullock. They've been real good to me. They keep their yard up. I don't have a problem with it, and I don't doubt Miss Bullock's qualifications as a daycare. But when I come home from work, this is my place of refuge, and I'm opposed to it, and I want peace and quiet. I ain't looking no trouble. I ain't looking nothing. I'm not racist. I want to come home to Woodfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Glover. Next is B.W. Collier.
B.W. Collier, 112 Woodfield Drive, Nashville, Tennessee. I was just going to reiterate on the things I've already heard, but the things concern me. For one thing, we did have a covenant, or do have a covenant, and everybody that lives there has signed to agree to that. And rules are rules, and we signed to accept the rules, and so that should be that way. The other thing is the safety situation. We have a lot of traffic there. We live right across the street from the Bullocks. I don't personally know them, but we see the traffic in and out, and it has increased so much over the last few years. We've been there going on 30 years, and so that's a concern. We the safety situation, and the other thing is we don't want to set a precedent for the neighborhood that if we allow one person to violate or amend the covenant, then we're opening it up for more. And we don't know what, we don't know what it would end up to. You don't want to discriminate against one or another by not allowing them the same privilege. So that's all I have to say, and I am opposed to it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Collier. Next, we have Bruce Hart.
Good afternoon, folks.
Good afternoon.
I'm Bruce Hart, and I live at 106 Woodfield Drive, and I've been out there 20 years, and it's a nice little residential neighborhood, and we've enjoyed living there, and I love living in Nashville. I've moved away from Nashville twice in my life and moved back twice, and that's how much I think of this town. And I don't know the lady that's asking for this change. I don't have anything against her. I have no problem. The problem I have is if you open up something like this, a can of worms, pretty soon somebody's going to come along and want to start doing a beauty salon. So pretty soon some guy's going to come along and want to put a little building behind his house and work on people's cars. And what that does to us is it reduces the value of our property. I'm 81 years old. I can't get out today and move. I hope the ambulance takes me away where I am. And I just ask that you think about these things and look at yourselves and see, would you want your neighborhood to change immensely? And I thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Have I covered everybody that wanted to speak? Okay, and your name is? Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So in 1993, when my wife and I had an opportunity to relocate to this area, we looked in Rocky Mount. but we found a home in Woodfield because we liked the small town atmosphere. We liked the fact that the small town would look after us and protect us. And we liked the opportunity to live in a neighborhood that does have covenants. And those covenants are still in place. And my fear is again, if you allow this business to begin, then it will open the door for the next business and the next business, thus diminishing the property value in our neighborhood and the atmosphere and feel of a small town residential area. The one concern that I have in addition to this is the fact that we're 6 houses away and received no notification. Yes, there's a sign in the yard. I breeze by that, have no clue what that sign is. Had it not been for Bob Horn, most of us would not have known about this. And my concern is to whatever policies in place needs to be looked at as far as notifying the whole neighborhood. Because I would dare say that you would have a lot more people here than we have tonight. And I would like to state on record that I am opposed to it. Thank you.
Kevin, what's your last name?
Callaway,
Callaway, and your address?
211
Okay.
Woodfield.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any others that, did I overlook anyone else? If not, this is the end of our, yes.
Mayor, maybe it'd be appropriate if you allow the applicant to maybe address some of the concerns that were given as a rebuttal.
Would you like to?
If she wants to.
Can I look at him? Is that okay? Okay. So as far as him doing all his research, that was wonderful, very good. You say you like kids and you into church and all this, that, and the third. I still, even though you have all your paperwork, I still don't understand why you don't feel like it's okay. Children, my yard is fenced in. My kids will be coming from I have 3 entrances where they can come in and out. There should be no reason for a child to run around. I stay on the corner, of course you know. So it shouldn't be a reason for a child to run out there in the street, get hit by a car. There's not a whole lot of traffic out there. The police is riding around this community all day, all night. If you're doing more than 15 miles per hour, they're gonna stop you, and you know that. If you live out there, you're paying attention. Mr. Tim, I do understand where you're coming from. We are great neighbors. I understand. I work at Pfizer as well. You want to come home. You want to be peaceful. You don't want to hear kids. We live right across the street from each other. I'm sure the kids not gonna be that loud. You get off work about 6, 7 o'clock. I'm running a business to 7 o'clock. 6:30. I'm gonna say 6 o'clock. I'm dropping these children off. You don't have to worry about traffic. I don't even remember what you said, but if y'all are, I appreciate everybody coming out here. They want to speak their mind on how they feel. I don't bother nobody. My kids don't bother nobody. I'm just trying to do something that I love. This is not something that I wanted to do in my house because I don't want everybody in and out my house. I really just wanted 4 children to come in. Due to the pandemic, I am not able to get me a building. So like the doctor just said, I am looking for a building. This is something that I want to do from the bottom of my heart because I love children. I have been trying to do this for years. I found me a nice home and a nice community that I really do like. And I said, because of the pandemic, I shouldn't stop my dreams. I should just, continue to do what I'm trying to do until I find me a building. Right now, of course, I haven't found no building. The state, they're not coming out to inspect anything right now due to the pandemic. So I just feel like, why do I have to put my life on hold? This is something I want to do. He has all the information. He did a whole lot of research, which was good. But at the same time, he said he liked kids and all this, that, and the third. I still don't understand what's the problem. If the city or the state states that I cannot have it, that is understandable. I really understand what my neighbor is saying, Mr. Tim, wonderful neighbors. He want to come home to a peaceful house. I work at Pfizer as well. I'm on maternity leave. I just had a baby. I don't want to go back to work because they still having cases of the coronavirus. I might bring that to my newborn baby. I'm not trying to do that. So I said I'm going to put my heart back into something that I love to do, and that is to be home with my kids and keep kids. I have 3 boys, very respectful. I love my children, and I just want to do something that I like to do. And that was just having 4 kids in my house. I'm helping people that I know. It's not going to be no crazy stuff. I don't even want traffic to come to my house. I'm willing to pick the kids up and drop the children back off at a reasonable time. In the paper, it does start at 6 o'clock. I have a lot of traffic. As Ms. Sherry already done stated, I'm trying not to be upset, but I do hard. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Who, I can't see who said.
Are we allowed to respond?
Yes, briefly you can respond.
As I was going around campus in the neighborhood trying to find out how the neighborhood feels like this, I heard some mighty good comments about you and your family. Everything that the doctor said, and it was great respect for you. Actually, some of the neighbors are sensitive about, being opposed to it. They feel bad for you as a family. Because you want to do this, you got to drive and passion, and I think that's a wonderful thing. First thing that I tried to convey when I was giving testimony was location. I don't have a problem with that. They're important. And to have people like you, that's awesome. And I encourage you to continue that drive, to do that, to help kids. We'll never at the same time. But it's the location. You can include yourself as property owners. We all have rights. And when you bought that property, if there's a conveyance in there for the protective covenant, saying that it's residential and residential family homes, there are things that run in business like that. And it's like you've heard myself and some of the others say, that if we open the door, if the town opens the door, says, okay, we can start having special use permits for this and that, crazy all line, crazy stop. This is where people live, and we want to enjoy living. We heard some of that tonight as well. We want people to live in, and we feel like we have that right under these protected methods. I would pray if you could find a place like real soon. I would work really hard trying to find a place, maybe the town can find you a place that's more suitable to have a daycare. I really do have a problem with safety. And I'm going to share this, this is kind of outside of the daycare, but if I was walking one morning by your property and I had your expedition parked there right parallel to the curb, that was me that you almost ran over. You remember you were dashing out of the driveway?
Did I get out of the driveway?
Yeah, you were
Did the
coming
car
out.
come all the way out? It was.
Now, this is not a time to discuss that, so finish.
The point
Okay.
is that this is a,
Okay, that's good.
it was,
Okay, we just need to stop comments. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're done.
the point is it's dangerous.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, this is the end of the input for this. So we will now go into the, do we need to go, we need to swear a planning board member in, don't we?
That's at the planning board meeting.
Okay, so we need to end our council meeting at this time because this is all we needed to discuss. Yes?
There's another item.
One more item.
Mayor and planning board members, if I may, the town of Nashville is under no obligation whatsoever to enforce covenants in a subdivision. That is the obligation and the duty of the people who live there. Our zoning ordinance allows for home occupations in residential neighborhoods if they meet specifications and the requirements of that. So that is what the application is for. If it's in violation of the covenants, it's my opinion that The property owners in the subdivision need to organize and need to bring action upon whoever is not complying with that. It's not the duty or the responsibility of the town of Nashville to do that. I understand what they're saying, but the obligation that the planning board and the council have is to our land use ordinance, and our land use ordinance does allow home occupations in residential neighborhoods under certain circumstances. And what was brought here forth as far as the applicant met all the requirements in our ordinance for a in-home daycare as a special use. Just wanted to add that.
We have one other item before we, concerning our amending Chapter 18, the land use regulations in the Code of Ordinance for the town of Nashville. Sherry, did you want to address that?
For the, well, there, just before we go into the next item, I just wanted to make sure there were no other questions for this, special hearing that we just heard. Anybody want to ask a question? Yes. Okay. Did any of the board members have any questions they would like to ask?
Any of the council?
I would like to share, I would like to make a comment, and he answered my question about whether or not, neighborhood covers would override our town planning ordinance. But does the neighborhood of Woodfield, do you realize that there's already a group home in Woodfield? And does the neighborhood also know that there's and I don't know the gentleman I used to live across the street from, because I was the third house in Woodfield. For those who don't know, I'm not there anymore, but I still consider that my first place. I lived out there for 26 years, but there's a big garage, as Mr. Tim mentioned. We don't want garages out there, people working on cars. But there's one resident out there that has a great big garage, and he works on race cars, which is quite loud. But I just want the neighborhood to know that there are similar people out there doing things like there's a group home there, and a large garage working on race cars. So just she would not be the first special use, and I don't even know if they if the garage went through this special use or the group home.
Right, and I would just add from the land use part that with this use, it's allowed, but however, it is not taking the place of the residence. It's still a residence. It's not going from a residential dwelling to a whole full-blown
Right.
daycare facility. It's still a residence, so the residence is not changing.
Right.
It's just having that use inside of that residence. Whether if somebody have an office, a home occupation or office in there, we wouldn't know. Unless it's something that has to be permitted. So, like I said, on our end, we can do land development uses.
I have one question. I have one question too for Ms. Bullock. You mentioned in the beginning you were in the process of pursuing the license. I know the state licenses home daycares as well. Would they allow you to open the facility without having that license approved?
So as of right now, they give you up to 6 months. So right now I can start. When they get ready to come to my house and inspect my house, I have to have everything in line.
Okay.
If I don't have stuff in line, they come to inspection.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, we'll move on to our next item. And Sherry, you and Randy will discuss that also about amending the Chapter 18 land use regulations.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, we prepared a draft ordinance for the council and the planning board. Right now, if you pull out our land use ordinance, you won't find a chart that has the setbacks for each of the zoning districts. It's not in there. We would like to amend the ordinance and actually put it in there. So it becomes part of the ordinance. Another change we'd like to propose to the planning board and the council is right now, Chapter 160D, which the General Assembly redid now 2 years ago, when it did that, it put in requirements in there that with special use permits, the town council or a board of commissioners for a county can request a planning board look at those special use permits and give a recommendation. But then it also goes on to say that the planning board or the board of, or the county commissioners can't take that recommendation into consideration when making their determination of whether or not to grant a special use permit. So there really is no purpose, in my opinion, for the planning board to even be part of these proceedings like we have here this evening. They're necessary for rezonings, and the proposals that Sherry and I put forth in the zoning ordinance effectively take the planning board out of special use permitting, still relevant for rezonings, still relevant to give recommendations and find findings of fact when it comes to rezonings, and give those recommendations to the council on any rezoning. But the way we've drafted this amendment is that it removes the planning board from any special use proceedings or hearings or any functions, creates a whole new division which actually does specify what the planning board does. Again, our current land use ordinance doesn't state what the planning board is supposed to do. Those are in another policy that the town has. We feel it's important and relative that it be in the planning ordinance. This ordinance amendment puts it there. And to summarize, it says that the function and the duty of the planning board is to consider rezoning requests, give recommendations to the council, and then advise the council on the comprehensive plans when we go to update those every 7 to 10 years. That's essentially the function and the duty of the planning board. Sherry, did I miss anything there in that brief summary?
You got it.
So again, this is a public hearing for the purpose. Our ordinance requires that in order to do a text amendment to our land use ordinance, it must have a public hearing before the planning board and the town council before those changes can be implemented. So that's what we're doing here tonight. If anybody has anything they want to add as far as public comments to this proposed amendment, now is the time and the place to do so.
Council, do any of you have any comments?
And that goes to the planning board too, if you have
Okay,
any comments,
planning.
questions.
I still appreciate the planning board's input.
For the special use?
Yes.
But if we can't consider on making our decisions, then it's almost like an opinion that we can't consider of anybody.
Well, we don't vote on this tonight, so let's look over it
Right.
until, when do we vote on it? The next,
Yeah, February 2nd.
I mean,
Right.
we could, if, sometimes the planning board thinks of questions that we don't think of.
Exactly.
So maybe it's a matter of having a meeting but not having any sort of consistency statement or opinion given at the end. I don't know what the answer is.
And this would not be you just said this would, public hearing as it relates to what your ordinance correction was going to be. But then the general public didn't realize this was going to be on the table for tonight.
Well,
So
again, it was advertised in the newspaper, Larry.
about this one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of them? Okay, stand corrected.
Put on our website.
Okay.
Maybe a response, Keith, if the planning board continues to have hearings with regard to special use permits, I'm certain they have to follow the quasi judicial rules
Right.
in order to do that.
Mhm.
Just like the council will have to if this ordinance goes through. But, I've thought long and hard about this, and the purpose of having an advisory committee is to give a recommendation, but if the decision-making body can't use that recommendation, then really what's the point of the advisory board getting together to render such a thing? And yes, you're right, the more people you have look at things, the more points of view that are, it's looked at from, which isn't a bad thing, but.
well, we'll look over this and discuss it at our February meeting. Council, do you have any comments before we adjourn? Any of you? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.